Okay, class, good morning once again. Our lesson for today is about accounting equation. So in algebra, we have studied about algebraic equation, and it is the finding of the unknown value of x. The left side is the place for the unknown, and the right side is for the known. In accounting, we also have to study the accounting equation. The left side, which is called the debit side, is for the assets, and the right side, which is called the credit side, is for the liabilities and owner's equity. The accounting equation is stated as follows: assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity, or A is equals to L plus OE. Okay, I would want you to understand that this accounting equation will be your very foundation in accounting. So whenever you would analyze any transactions, you should always remember this very basic foundation of accounting, which is the accounting equation. Which means to say that assets is always equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. The accounting equation is applicable to all economic entities regardless of size, nature of business, or forms of business organization. Assets, liabilities, and owner's equity are called accounting values. Okay, so before we would proceed, I just would want to ask, what are assets? So according to the meaning of assets, so assets are things of value that are owned and used by the business in its operations. So examples are cash, inventories, receivables, land, building, equipment, furniture, and fixtures. So assets would tell us what the business owns. How about liabilities? So liabilities are debts or financial obligations of the business that are payable in cash or in some kind of assets such as accounts payable, notes payable, or mortgage payable. So liabilities would tell us what the business owes. Next, what is owner's equity? So this refers to money or value of property put by the owner in the business to start with, which refers to initial investment. Owner's equity is increased by additional investment, profit, or income, and decreased by withdrawal, expenses, and losses. Okay, so ato ang balikan. Okay, so what are assets? So ang assets, no, muna siya ang mga kabtangan lagi pa nag-iyahan sa business, like for example kwarta, no, inventories, receivables, land, building, equipment like vehicle or siguro mga machine, equipments, furniture and fixtures, and etc. No? So ang asset mo na siya ay kabtangan sa business nga gipanag-iyahan sa business pod. So what are liabilities? So ang liabilities, no, in short, utang sa business ngadto sa mga creditors, so balayro nun. So how about the owner's equity? So ang owner's equity, no, so diya makita nato kung pila ang kwarta or value sa property, no, kabtangan nga gibutang sa tag-iya sa business ngadto sa business. Like for example, okay, moingon ang katong tag-iya, sige kining ako ang building ako ning gamiton para ani nga negosyo. Okay? So, take for example, iyang sakyanan. Okay, sige, ako apon ning himuon nga kapital, no? Para ani nga negosyo. So, or unsa pa nga property nga magamit sa operation sa business. So, the owner's equity would tell us how much is the claim of the owner sa business. So therefore, asset is equals liabilities plus owner's equity. So asset, what the company owns. Liabilities, what the company owes. And the owner's equity is the owner's claim to the business. So the accounting equation states that the assets of the business is equal to the claims of both the creditors and the owner. So assuming that asset is 100,000 pesos. So liabilities is 70,000 pesos and the owner's equity is 30,000 pesos. So substituting the equation with the given data, so ang assets nato ibutang 100,000 daw. So ang liabilities is 70,000. Then ang owner's equity is 30,000. So can you see it? Sa asset, the total is 100,000. So ang liabilities plus the owner's equity, which is 70,000 plus 30,000, so equals to 100,000 also. So makita ninyo nga equal ang ilahang amount. If there is no creditor, the owner has the sole right or claim over the assets of the business. The equation will show a zero liability. Hence, sabot pasabot no kung halimbawa walay liabilities. Sabot pasabot ani, dapat ang assets is 100,000 pesos. So dapat ang owner's equity po is 100,000 pesos. So, if the owner wants to know how much is his claim over the assets of the business, the formula will be slightly modified and restated as follows. So, mutana no og kung pila gyoy, usaon mo pagkabalo og pilay kantidad nga gipanag-iyahan sa tag-iya sa negosyo. So, owner's equity minus is equals assets minus liabilities. Ato ang makita no, pila di ay ang owner's equity. So, ang assets niya, so nasa 100,000, ang liability is 70,000. So, 100,000 minus 70 is equals to 30,000. So, ato ang makita no nga balance siya. Diba? So, 30,000. So, 30,000 po. Then, the other way of mathematically expressing the equation is what it owns less sabot doon sa dako dagi panagihan, which is the assets, i-deduct ang utang, which is what it owes, that refers to the liabilities, equals what is left for the business, so referring to owner's claim. So makita ninyo no, ang asset is 100,000. So burabot po sabot ang kanang kabtangan no nga naa sa business. Aron makita nato og kung pila ang kanang owner's equity, of course ato i-deduct ang 70,000, which is part of the asset, di ba? Kaya nga naman aron makita nato og pila ang owner's equity, kay ang 70,000 dili man na gipanag-iyahan sa kanang dili man na investment sa kanang tag-iya, inutang mo na sa kanang company dito sa mga creditors. So para makita og pila ang iyang owner's equity, so dapat no ang assets, total assets sa company, i-deduct ang liability. So ang answer ana is muna siya ang owner's equity. So another one, if the creditors want to know how much are their claims over the assets of the business, the formula will again be modified and restated as follows. So ani nga time no gusto pud makabalo ang creditors kato nagpautang kung pila ang ilahang claim pud sa company. Okay, so liabilities is equals to assets minus owner's equity. So makita na to no, 100,000 minus 30, so is equals to 70,000. So balance gid siya. If we put the accounting equation in a vertical position instead of a horizontal position, it will appear in this manner. So kung ingani no, ihimo na to ang T accounts. So makita na to nga sa left side, which is the debit side. So muna siya no, total assets. So makita na to no, 100,000. Then sa right side, which is the credit side, so makita na to no, ang total liabilities plus ang total owner's equity. So total liabilities and owner's equity is also equal to 100,000 pesos. So makita na to no nga equal gid siya dapat sa accounting equation. Mag-equal ang debit ug ang credit side. Preliminary testing. Illustration 1, if assets are 300,000 and the owner's equity is 100,000, how much is the claim from outside creditors? So ang pangutana no kung pila ang utang, kung ang assets is equals to 300,000, unya ang owner's equity is 100,000. So ang formula, since nga ang ipangita, di ba, kung pila ang liabilities. So, assets minus owner's equity para makuha na ito pilay utang sa business. So, 300,000 minus 100,000. So, ang liabilities is equals to 200,000. So, for checking, no? So, ang ato accounting equation is equals to asset equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. So, butang diri no, ang given nga data diri is 200,000 ang assets. O niya, ang tawagani. Ang owner's equity is 100,000. Then, ang atong answer sa liability is 200,000. So, balance siya, no? Ang debit o ang credit sides, which is 200,000. Okay, so for illustration 2, if financial obligation of the business is 350,000 and the claim of the owner over these assets is 150,000. So, how much is assets? So, ang ipangita na po diri no, how much daw kuno ang assets or how much does the company owns. So, ang formula nato, ang given data, ang ipangita nato, di ba, ang assets. So, na given data, so na ay financial obligation which is the liabilities of 350,000 pesos plus owner's equity nga 150,000 pesos. So, ato makita no nga ang assets, di ba, dapat equal siya sa liabilities plus owner's equity. So, 350 plus 150,000. So, ang total assets is equals to 500,000 pesos. So, sa ato ang so for checking, so assets is equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. So, atong makita no ang given data, ang liabilities is 350,000 pesos, then ang owner's equity is 150, so equals to 500. So, it means to say ang ang assets po should equal to 500,000 pesos since nga dapat balance gid sila both sides, the debit and the credit side. Okay, next, illustration 3. If assets are 400,000 pesos and the claims from outside creditors over the assets are 250,000 pesos. So, how much is owner's equity? So, ato na pag ipangita no, ang owner's equity. So, but pasabot ana, di ba no, ang assets sa business ipanag-iyana sa duha, sa creditors o sa tag-iya, sa owner. So, since nga mangita ta og kung pila ang owner's equity, so, ang given na data, nga assets is 400,000 minus liabilities, which is 250,000. So, ang answer, ang asset is equals to 150,000 pesos. So, for checking, our accounting equation, which is asset, is equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. So, ang given nato dira no, natay assets nga 400,000 pesos. Then naatay creditors nga 250. So ang atong answer sa owner's equity is 150,000. So makita nato no balance siya. So 400,000 pesos. Okay, the double entry system of bookkeeping is one that recognizes the twofold effects of a transaction, the value received and the value parted with, which has the effect of increasing or decreasing the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. Because of the dual effects, the equation will always maintain an equal balance at all times. So, magpasabotan na no ang dual effects sa transaction, twofold effects of transaction, the value received. No? So, kung unsa may kanang value nga imuhang na-receive o ang imuhang hatag, parted with. So, let us have an illustration showing the increase or decrease of the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity and summary of transaction to see how the accounting equation works. There are only 6 narrative transactions as follows. So, assume clean and dry laundry services. So for transaction 1, Josephine Receipt opens a laundry shop business in General Santos City under the trade name Clean and Dry Laundry Services, where she invested cash of 350,000 pesos. So si Josephine no, nag-invest siya. So ang iyang 350,000 pesos, nahimo siyang nga cash, nahimong asset sa business. Then ang sa iyang owner's equity nga mao ang iyang capital, no? So ang iyang claim sa business is 350,000 pesos, which is her initial investment. So as we can see with the first transaction, the entity Clean and Dry Laundry Services was created separate and distinct from the owner, Josephine Receipt. There is an increase in asset cash, 350,000, which corresponds to an increase in owner's equity of J Receipt capital of 350,000 pesos. So at this point, the entity has no liabilities. Assets of 250,000 is equal to owner's equity of 350,000 pesos. So for our transaction 2, so na ikaduha nga transaction, no? Both laundry equipment for cash, 100,000, 120,000 pesos. So as we could see, no, ang cash available is 350,000. So since nga nagpalit man ka og equipment, subot pasabot makuhaan ng imuhang cash. So mahitabuan na sa imuhang asset, so mag-minus ka diri sa imuhang cash, pero nakay additional nga asset nga under the name sa equipment nga 120,000 pesos. So makita nimo, no, nga ang assets is still total 350,000 pesos, which is equal to the owner's equity. So tawag do gikuan ang cash, pero naman pud siya naduga nga equipment, would still form part of the company's asset. So this did not change the total assets, but did change the composition of asset. So kita na to, no, ang asset total niya is 150,000 gihapon, pero ang composition lang. So naamay cash, so napoy equipment. Okay, so for our transaction 3, both shop supplies inventory on credit. So pasabot nangutang siya. So ang beginning balance ato ang cash, di ba? 230,000 plus equipment nga 120,000 pesos. So karon nangutang siya og supplies inventory nga mahimo na pud siyang asset sa company. So naay 50,000 pesos nga supplies inventory. So atong makita, no, pila na ang total assets tanan, 230 nga cash, 120 nga equipment plus supplies inventory nga 50,000. So total assets is 400,000 pesos. So how about the credit side? So na liabilities plus owner's equity. So syempre, no, na naman sila sa iyang transaction 3, nangutang sila, so nanay accounts payable of 50,000 pesos. Then owner's equity still the same, 250,000, so total of 400,000 pesos. This transaction increases the assets, supplies, inventory to 50,000 pesos, which corresponds to increase the liability accounts payable. This results the equation to be in balance, no? So pasabot nino ni increase ang supplies inventory into 50,000 pesos, then naapoy naduga nga liabilities. So for transaction 4, Josephine Receipt withdrew cash of 10,000 from her business for personal use. So okay, so ang beginning balance ato ang cash, di ba? Inumdumi 230,000 pesos, then ang equipment nga 120 pesos. Supplies inventory is 50,000, accounts payable 50,000, then total owner's equity is 350,000 pesos. So karon, no, naa siya drawing, but pasabot nag-withdraw siya og kwarta for the personal use of a receipt. So nahitaboan no, syempre nagkuha siya sa iyang cash. So nakuha na pud ang cash og 10,000. So nahimo na lang 220,000 pesos. So diri pud sa iyang owner's equity, no, so kinahanglan magdeduct pud ta, no, sa iyang capital. Kay syempre gikuhaan man niya iyang capital og 10,000, so dili na 350. Mag-minus sa tag 10,000. So makita na to, no, nga ang total assets is equal to 390,000 pesos. Unya, ang liabilities plus owner's equity is also equal to 390,000 pesos. So this transaction decreases asset cash 10,000 and decreases owner's equity drawing 10,000. The equation remains in balance. Assets 390,000 pesos, liabilities and owner's equity of 50,000 and at 340,000 pesos respectively. Okay, transaction number 5. Received cash of 60,000 pesos for services rendered to customers. So na sila na ang business na na-receive nga 60,000 nga cash. So sa ato ang composition sa assets, so ato ang beginning balance sa cash is 220,000 pesos. Plus na additional nga 60,000, so it's the total cash is 280,000 pesos. So ang equipment at as is nagyapon siya no 120,000 pesos, then supplies inventory which is 50,000 pesos. So ang total assets sa company no is 450,000 pesos. While ang liabilities, so ang accounts payable as is lang gyapon 50,000 pesos. Then ang owner's equity, gross capital 250,000 pesos, ang reset drawing 10,000 pesos. So ang atong owner's equity, di ba, maapektuhan siya, mo-increase siya pag naay additional nga investment or naay income. Pero mo-decrease po siya pag naay losses or expenses. So karon no na ay additional na to nga account which is the income of 60,000 pesos. So mo na siya ang total sa liabilities of owner's equity is equals to 450,000 pesos. This transaction increased the asset cash and increases owner's equity income in the amount of 60,000 pesos. The accounting equation remain in balance of 450,000 pesos. Transaction number 6, paid salaries to employees. Okay, so diri no nakuhaan na pud ang cash og 15,000 pesos since nga mobayad man siya. So ang cash nato kuhaan nato og 15,000. So di ba 280,000 na nga to ang cash, beginning balance. So kuhaan nato 15,000. So ang total asset is sa cash is 265,000. Ang equipment as is lang yapon 120,000. Ang supplies inventory 50,000. So total assets is 435,000 pesos. While ang liabilities as is lang yapon 50,000 pesos. Then ang owner's equity. So ang receipt capital 350,000, receipt drawing 10,000 plus katong sa income, then naay expenses daw since nga ang salary sa employees expenses man na siya no sa operation sa business. So ato hinumduman nung ang owner's equity sa gato siya mo increase siya pag naay additional investment o kung naay income, pero mo decrease siya kung naay losses or naay expenses. So atong i-deduct pud ang expenses nga 15,000 pesos. So ato ang makita ang total assets is 435,000 pesos equals to liabilities plus owner's equity, total of 435,000 pesos as well. So if we are going to summarize the 6 transactions that we have, no, so mo ni siyang iyahang dagway, no? So makita nato sa transaction 1 na ay 350,000 cash, then na po receipt capital nga 350,000, di ba mo to initial investment niya nga si receipt nagbuhi og kwarta nga 350,000 pesos. Then nagpalit og equipment nga cash. So ang nahitabo no nakuhaan ang cash og 120,000 pero naay nadugang nga asset nga equipment. Next is nangutang og supplies inventory. So nadugangan ang asset sa 50,000 pesos pero naapoy nahimo nga liabilities, utang no, kay nagpalit tuod sila ang company og supplies inventory pero dili cash kundi utang. So naay accounts payable nga 50,000 pesos. Next is naay drawing. So nag-withdraw si Rosette gikan sa iyang capital kay aron gamiton niya sa iyang personal use. So ang ato ang cash do nakuha og 10,000 pesos as well as na record po nato ang drawing ni Rosette. Transaction number 5, di ba? Naa sila income nga 60,000 pesos. So naay nadawat nga cash. So nadugangan ang cash og 60,000 pesos, then na-recognize po nato ang income. Then for transaction number 6, no, tong 15,000 nga salaries, no? So naidakuan ato ang cash kay syempre nagbayad man ta sa sweldo. Then na record po nato ang expenses. So at kung ato ang suma totalo, no? So ang total assets is 435,000 pesos, then ang owner's equity is also 435,000 pesos. So looking at the summary of economic transactions, the basic accounting equation assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. So the asset is 435,000 pesos equals 50,000 nga liabilities o 385,000 pesos nga owner's equity has developed and transformed into an expanded accounting equation as follows. No, so na may additional kay di ba na nato income and expenses. So assets is 435,000 pesos, liabilities is 50,000 pesos, then owner's equity is 340,000, no? So gideduct na daan ang iyang drawing ni Lucette. Then na ang income nga 60,000, then na po expenses nga 15,000 pesos. So total niya no sa kanang owner's equity ug income plus expenses is 385,000 pesos plus 50,000 pesos. So same total no, 435,000 pesos. So balance gid siya. So mo ni siya ang concept sa accounting equation. So dili pwede nga dili mabalanse ang imuhang debit ug ang imuhang credit. Kay kung dili siya mabalanse, inig-record nimo, inig-recognize nimo sa transaction, inig-analyze mo, but pasabot no, there's something wrong. Mali ang imuhang analysis, mali po ang imuhang pag-record. Whenever you're going to watch this video class, I want you to jot down those important points that I am discussing so that you can understand it fully. So whenever you're having some kind of hard time understanding, you can actually just ask me. Don't hesitate to ask me. Send me a message on my Facebook Messenger. The best thing actually to study is, of course, to take notes so that you can understand. I have heard it over and over again that accounting subject is very hard. But you know what? There's no such thing as hard thing if you really would just study hard and if you would really love what you are doing. So if you love accounting, it's just quite so easy for you to understand if you're interested with it. All you need to do actually is to enjoy while learning. Okay? So please be safe, everyone, and thank you so much for watching this video class.